So the Houston Rockets just traded for Kevin Durant, and man, it's one of those deals that I have no idea how to really feel about, because this is a move that basically tells us the Rockets are all in and thought they were one guy away from being a true title contender this whole time. This move tells us everything we need to know about where the Rockets stand. They're officially all in for 2026, all in for a championship, all in on chasing that next level ceiling. And the craziest part is, this move kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody really thought KD would land in Houston. There were whispers, sure, but most people and analysts were focused on the Spurs, the Heat, maybe even the Raptors. Then boom, Durant's headed to H-Town. And this is kind of a weird trade, and I don't even really know why. Some people are rolling their eyes at it. The Suns got a haul in return, and it feels like they won the trade. Durant has just become such an unlikable player. I think he's a good person, but as a player, he just hasn't really done much outside of just stats. He has never by himself elevated a team to the next level, so this was an interesting move, to say the least. But if we look at things for how they are, Durant is not being brought into H-Town to be the number one option. This team is still being built around Alpren, Sengun, and Thomspon. Durant is just the superstar that the front office thought would give them the firepower they need to compete with the Thunder, and now the Lakers with Luka. This was an interesting move, and I want to talk all about it. But before we break down this trade from every single angle, and trust me, there's a lot to unpack here, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe. It only takes 5 seconds, plus you can always change your mind. We are on the road to 60,000 subscribers, which is just crazy to say, and with your support, I believe that we can get there super fast. Alright, so let's start with the trade itself. The Rockets gave up Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the number 10 overall pick, and 5 second-rounders for Kevin Durant. On paper, you obviously might look at that and say, wow, Houston gave up a lot. But once you dig down into the context, this was a home run swing with very little downside. The Rockets kept their core intact. Thomspon, Jabari Smith, Alpren Sengun, Cam Whitmore, they're all still on the roster. They didn't touch their foundational youth. They didn't totally overpay. They didn't give up any other firsts. And somehow, they walked out of this with Kevin Durant. That's pretty insane. That's a front office masterclass from Rafael Stone. I'm never against the front office taking a big swing. It's better to take a swing and a miss than to sit and do nothing, like the Miami Heat, and I know their fans are absolutely fed up about it. And to be completely honest, I love it. The Rockets were already a 50+ win team last season. They pushed the Warriors to 7 games in the first round without a true go-to scorer. Fred VanVleet did his job, Jabari had his flashes, but what they've lacked was a certified bucket getter in the final 4 minutes. Now they've got Kevin Durant, a guy who even at age 37 still averaged 26.6 points per game last year. He's still one of the most efficient scorers on the planet, and when you add that to a roster full of long, switchable defenders and explosive athletes, now you're cooking with gas. Now you've got something serious going on. Even if Durant only gives you 60 games, even if he's not what he was in 2014, which obviously he's not, his presence on the floor changes everything. Late game situations, defensive attention, spacing, leadership, everything just got a massive boost in Houston. But on the flip side, let's talk about the Phoenix Suns. And look, I want to be fair here, because in a vacuum, getting Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, and a top 10 pick is not a bad return at all. Especially when you consider they had zero leverage. Everyone knew KD wanted out. Everyone knew the Suns were desperate to get back into the first round of the draft. Everyone knew their cap situation was a complete disaster. But even still, this return feels like a slow unraveling of what was once a finals team. You go back to just a few years ago, they had Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Mikal Bridges, and Cam Johnson, a young, hungry group that was just 2 wins away from a ring. And now, Booker's almost 30, CP3 is gone, Ayton's long gone, Durant is gone, Beal's stuck in a limbo with a no trade clause, and what you're left with is a bunch of question marks, a few second round picks, and a hope that Jalen Green turns into something more than a microwave scorer. And that's the part that really stings, because Jalen Green is a talented player, no doubt about it, but he's also inconsistent, inefficient, and hasn't shown any signs of being able to carry a team on either end of the floor. Dillon Brooks brings defense and toughness, and we've seen how quickly his value fluctuates depending on the locker room and the coaching staff. The number 10 pick, yeah, there's potential there, but that's not a franchise changer overnight. So when you add it all up, Phoenix basically traded away KD and still didn't get back their own future. Houston still owns the Suns' 2027 first rounder, so in a way they gave up a generational scorer and didn't even fix the asset problem. Now, let's shift back to KD for a second, because this is where things get really interesting. This trade might end up being less about Houston or Phoenix and more about the legacy of Kevin Durant himself, because for all of his greatness, and we know how great he has been, he's truly never led a team to a championship on his own terms. And no, I'm sorry, the Warriors titles don't count in that conversation. We all know that was Steph's team. That was a 73-win machine before he got there. What Durant did in Golden State was surgical, but it wasn't legacy defining. It was validation, not elevation. Since then, every team he's tried to lead, the Nets, the Suns, it all ended in disappointment, injuries, bad chemistry, poor playoff runs. Obviously the infamous moment where his toe was an inch too long, or else he maybe could have got to the finals. And now, here he is in Houston, a 37-year-old future Hall of Famer with one last chance to shut everyone up and change the narrative. If this works, if KD can stay healthy and help lead the Rockets to the finals, maybe even win it all, it changes everything. The narrative flips. He becomes the guy who found a way to win without the cheat code, without Steph, without the super team. But if this doesn't work, if they flounder in the playoffs or KD gets hurt again, then it's probably over. That ring chaser label won't go away. That never the bus driver meme will stick forever, and that's what makes this trade so fascinating. For Houston, the risk is low. For KD, the stakes couldn't be higher. And from the Rockets side of things, this move just fits. They didn't completely overpay, they didn't give up Cam Whitmore or anything like that, who now probably steps into a bigger role. They didn't move him on Thomspon, who's on the verge of breaking out. They didn't touch Sengun, who's developing into one of the most unique centers in the entire league. They just took a swing, a big one at that, and if it misses, so what? You're still left with a top-tier young core, cap flexibility, and a front office that clearly knows what it's doing. Meanwhile, Phoenix is hoping Jalen Green can become something he hasn't been in 4 years. They're hoping their draft pick becomes something with future potential. They're hoping they can find a way to trade Beal despite his no-trade clause. It's a lot of hope and not a lot of certainty, and that's tough when your timeline is already running out with Devin Booker in his prime. So when we look at this trade in full, it says a lot about both franchises. It tells us Houston is ready to win, ready to compete, and ready to bet on their core. It tells us Phoenix is stuck between a soft rebuild and a hard truth. And it tells us KD is officially on the clock. No more excuses, no more blame shifting. He's got talent around him, he's got a stable environment, he's got a shot. Now it's time to deliver. Let's take a look at what some other people have had to say about this trade.
Yeah, I think what he said there in that interview was very important. I think the Warriors could have traded for him last February. He said, I don't want to go, and the Warriors backed off. I think last week, the Timberwolves could have traded for him. He said he didn't want to go. The Timberwolves backed off. And I think the Suns would have gotten better returns in both of those trades. But he had agency. He used that leverage. He ends up going to Houston. And you say, why does Houston do this deal? If you want to rank the Houston young players and their draft capital, you're ranking 6, 7 names and lists before you get to Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks and the number 10 pick. And I understand the number 10 pick. It's a lottery pick. It's quality. But the Rockets didn't feel that they were going to get a player in this draft that was materially going to help them. And they end up landing an offensive juggernaut, which is exactly what they needed.
That's really all I have to say for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point. Let me know what you thought about this trade in the comments below. I'm very curious to hear your guys' opinions. And also, if you did enjoy this one, please be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so you never miss another upload. And until next time, I will see you all later.